What's going on, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Crack-A-Pack series. Today, we are lucky enough to be opening up a pack of classic, 6th edition, all the way from 1999, right before the year 2000. A lot of interesting stuff in this set. Of course, it is technically a core set, so keep that in mind as we go through. We're not going to be seeing crazy powerful cards. All that being said, this was an older time in Magic, and so certainly there are going to be some really interesting cards if we can get this pack open. Oh my goodness. Wait for it. There we go. We're getting it. Man, that old glue really holds tightly. So there are some interesting cards for sure, but a lot of them are going to be dimmed down in power level a little bit. My assumption is, I'm going to go ahead and take a quick peek. Yeah, okay. So that way we go through the commons first and not the uncommons and the rare. So our first card here, Cat Warriors, is a 2/2 for 1 and 2 green with Forest Walk. So if you don't know what Forest Walk or any island or land walk is, essentially it gives a creature unblockable conditionally. So if the opponent in this case controls a forest, that means this creature cannot be blocked by the opposing creatures, which is really nice. But it is a little bit random. Unfortunately, you don't know what you're going to be up against most of the time, and so a lot of times Forest Walk, Island Walk, any kind of land walk ability was very much just random upside if you were to main deck a card like this. Now, I wouldn't necessarily suggest main decking this solely because it does not pass the basic bear test of 2/2 for 2. But if you're looking for a 3-drop, I suppose this isn't the worst thing in the world. It's just not that exciting. It is very good against opposing green decks, obviously, and so in that case, maybe bring it in from the sideboard or something. But other than that, not super exciting. Spitting Earth is a sorcery for 1 and a red, and it deals damage to target creature equal to the number of mountains you control. Now, this is a very powerful card. Obviously not super flexible with cards like Lightning Bolt and Shock and things like that. They hit the player, not just the creature. This obviously only does target a creature, but it is a very solid piece of removal for only 2 mana. It is at sorcery speed, so a little bit of a downside, but for that 2 mana, you're getting a lot. And this scales with every mountain that you're playing onto the battlefield, which is great. So honestly, this is not a bad pick. I actually am really happy to open this. We'll see what the rest of the pack holds, but removal like this is very much at a premium. Tranquility is 2 and a green for a sorcery, destroy all enchantments. This is very straightforward. Just enchantment hate used in the sideboard. You generally do not want to main deck a card like this. Just because you have no idea if you're going to be up against enchantments or not. And so very rarely will this become a very powerful card in your deck. Now, when it does, it's going to be amazing, but you generally speaking are going to want to main deck something like this. You want to side this in when you know you're up against a lot of enchantments. Lost Soul is a 2/1 for 1 and 2 black with Swamp Walk, so very similar to the Cat Warriors. Actually a little bit worse in my opinion, obviously, with that only 1 toughness. That kind of makes it a little worse. But very straightforward, the exact same argument applies for this card that it does with the Cat Warriors. I don't think it's a good 3-drop just in general. However, if you're up against a black deck, it's great. It's going to be an unblockable threat that they will have to deal with, and so I actually like it in that sense, but again, not a first pickable card, definitely not something you want to be main decking a lot of the time. Hero's Resolve is an enchant creature for 1 and a white, and the enchanted creature gets +1/+5, so fairly straightforward. I really do not like cards like this. I've talked about it a lot, but you just open yourself up to those 2-for-1 opportunities on the opponent's end. And what I mean by that, if you put this on any given creature and say they Spitting Earth that creature, well, you've suddenly lost 2 cards for the price of only 1 on the opponent's side, and that's very bad value for you. And so I really don't like it. This also just isn't that great. It gives a huge toughness boost, which is great. It's going to keep it out of that Spitting Earth range, most likely. But unfortunately, it doesn't give you much power at all, so it's not really giving you a high priority threat or anything like that. Interesting art with Gerard on there, but other than that, not a great card. Speaking of art, the enchant creature Flight. For 1 blue, enchanted creature gets flying. This is a really interesting card. It's very silly in my opinion, mostly because of the art. Just a flying zebra, I love it. But it is actually kind of the same argument with the Hero's Resolve. You run into the fact that If they just have a removal spell, you're kind of losing 2 cards for the price of 1, and I don't like that. I never like opening myself up to that. And so I shy away from cards like this. This is honestly, in my opinion at least, it's a little bit better than Hero's Resolve. That evasion can be a little bit nicer than just a huge toughness boost, but again, still not super exciting. I don't think I would ever play it. Remedy is an instant for 1 and a white. Prevent the next 5 damage this turn divided any way you choose among any number of target creatures and or players. These cards are very much a trap for new players. Saving yourself damage may sound good on the onset, but that's very, very terrible. This could very easily be a bomb in your deck or a removal spell in your deck or something to help you gain a little bit of advantage. This unfortunately just puts you down a card in your deck and really just kind of stalls. And unfortunately, cards like this just tend to be very, very bad. I would absolutely never run them if I'm going to be honest, and hopefully you guys don't. Trained Madan is very simply a 3/3 for 1 and 2 green. This is just a very solid 3-drop if I'm going to be honest. It obviously passes the 3/3 for 3 test, which is great. It is a little bit tricky to cast because it costs 2 green, not just 2 and a green or something like that. But other than that, it's a really, really just solid 3-drop, especially in a core set where, again, that power level is going to be dimmed down a bit. You're not looking for crazy powerful cards. You really just want to curve out and hit good cards, and this is perfectly fine for that. I'd still take Spitting Earth over it just because that removal is, again, always at a premium. You really want to take that early. But if I find myself in a green deck, I would be very, very happy picking this up. Bogging is a 1/1 flyer for 1 and a black. A very straightforward card. And it's okay. It's really not great. If you're running into a situation where you just don't have many 2-drops, it's nice to have an evasive threat early on. But it is just a 1/1. They're going to be able to deal with it at least eventually. And maybe it's just that they play a more powerful creature than you. But regardless, they're going to have a way to deal with this most likely. And it's very rare that this ever really does a lot of damage to the opponent. But again, if you're low on 2-drops, maybe this is better than some of your other cards you picked up. In that instance, maybe pick it up just for that, but really not a very powerful card. Dream Cache is a sorcery for 2 and a blue. Draw 3 cards, choose 2 cards from your hand, and put both on either the top or bottom of your library. Interesting card. This is very similar to Brainstorm, but significantly, significantly worse. I don't love it. It is card draw. I think you do maybe play it if you're running a little bit low on it. You do see 3 cards for 3 mana as well. And you can dig through your deck a good bit, which is pretty solid. However, I don't think it's the most efficient spell in the world. I think you really only play this if you're looking for a 3-drop or you're just very low on playables. Maybe you run it and it's fine, but it's never going to be a game-breaking card by any means. It's just really helping you dig through your deck. Drawing cards in limited tends to be a little overvalued. I don't think it's the best thing in the world, but it is nice to have 1 or 2 pieces, especially in a blue deck. And so for that reason, maybe you pick it up kind of mid to late pack. Windrake is a 2/2 for 2 and a blue with flying. Fairly straightforward card, but honestly not a bad one. I'd rather have something like this that's going to be evasive no matter what for 3 than something like the Forest Walk Cat Warriors or something like that, where it's just going to have random upsides. So I actually really like this card. I think you do kind of just go ahead and play this if you pick it up. I don't think it's an early, super high priority pick, but it is a flying threat, and that's something that your opponent is going to have to deal with at some point. So I do like it for that reason. Thor Flash is an enchantment for 2 and 2 red. Whenever a creature comes into play, Thor Flash deals 2 damage to it. This is a really interesting card. Much more of a commander card, I think, than anything else. I don't think this is worth it to run in limited. It does deal with a lot of smaller creatures, but the reality is you're probably going to be playing some smaller creatures as well. And unfortunately, that just means this is going to wreck house on everybody's creatures. So it'll probably slow down the game a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be the best thing for you. It doesn't deal damage to the opponents or anything like that, and that's really what you want off of an enchantment. You want to be able to deal damage regularly every turn to the opponent to hopefully just strengthen your clock as much as possible. This, unfortunately, just kind of stalls the game, which I don't really love, to be honest. Maybe I'm wrong on this one, but feel free to let me know in the comment section. I just don't think this is a very powerful card for limited. Femeref? Hope I'm saying that correctly. Archers is a 2/2 for 2 and a green. You can tap it and it deals 4 damage to target attacking creature with flying. So interesting card. This definitely staves off flyers. I love that it's a repeated removal for flyers. Obviously, you're not going to always be up against the flyers, so it's not necessarily the best for that, but generally speaking, you can expect 1 or 2 at the very least from any deck, and so it's probably nice to have something like this. I don't know if it's better than Spitting Earth. Spitting Earth, honestly, is just really solid to get rid of basically anything, but this is obviously a little more focused and repeated. I think I would tend to lean, it's a little bit tricky because honestly, normally in these situations, I lean towards the creature because you want to have a board presence as well as removal. The archers kind of serves both purposes, but you also prefer to have a little flexibility, and Spitting Earth gives you a little more than the removal on the archers, which obviously only hits flyers. So it's a little bit back and forth. I'm going to keep them together for now. We'll kind of evaluate at the end of the pack. Reprisal is an instant for 1 and a white. Destroy target creature with power 4 or greater, and it cannot be regenerated. So this is just instant speed, solid white removal. Obviously, it's conditional. It's not going to be able to hit every single thing. And for that reason, I actually like the Spitting Earth at the very least more than the Reprisal, just because Spitting Earth kind of hits everything as long as you have enough mountains. And so I prefer that over this, but I think both are very good, and you could honestly kind of lean either way and probably be just fine. And then our rare is Millstone. So it's an artifact for 2 of any color. You can pay 2 and tap it, put the top 2 cards of target player's library into his or her graveyard. Mill is very interesting and limited. It's actually very good, but hard to pull off. Just because you don't usually have the build around cards that you always need. This is 2 cards a turn, which is significant, but it is slow. And so, unfortunately, I don't think this is the pick here. Not the rare we were maybe hoping for, but that's okay. It's still an interesting card for sure. I do kind of think it's between Spitting Earth and the Archers. I think I'm going to go Archers. That's a little bit of a tricky call. I could really go either way. Even the Reprisal here is a very powerful card, but I think I'm going to go with the Archers solely to have a little bit more board presence, which again I think is very important, and it staves off those flyers. So any deck that you're up against, blue-white flyers style deck, you're going to have a very good matchup against, and I think that's very good. So I think that's the way I would go. Please feel free in the comment section to let me know if you disagree, or let me know what you would pick. I'd be happy to talk about that. But if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to leave a like or a comment down below. And as always, please make sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of our awesome content. Very quickly, also, the winner of our giveaway was Michael. We did announce that on Instagram. I apologize I didn't do that in a video. I was actually away for work, but he did win. Congratulations to him. Thank you all so much for entering. We really do appreciate it. It means a lot to us that you've supported what we do. So thank you guys so much, and stay tuned for the next giveaway. We will see you very soon.